Chapter 1, Gu Jinghe passed away at the age of 60. He left a will bequeathing all his assets to his wife and children. When the will took effect, I was not the one who received the inheritance. It was then I discovered that throughout our over 30 years of marriage, Gu Jinghe had maintained a legitimate wife overseas, his childhood sweetheart and lifelong love. They shared a son and lived in devoted companionship. All he left me were countless messes to clean up and a mountain of debt. At Gu Jinghe's funeral, his cherished Lin arrived with her son, weeping as pitifully as a pear blossom bathed in rain. Jinghe, you devoted your whole life to me, yet I didn't even get to see you one last time. I don't want to go on living either. She clung to the coffin, refusing to let go. Her son was wailing beside her. Mom, Dad's gone. The living must carry on. Please accept my condolences. All of Gu Jinghe's friends knew Lin Xingchen. They instinctively gathered around her, sobbing uncontrollably. 1. Everyone pretended not to know that I was Gu Jinghe's lawful wife. What a ridiculous scene, his best friend Xu Weifeng said with a hint of resentment in his voice. Sis, even in his final moments, Brother Gu wanted to see you. He also said he wanted his funeral to be held in M country. It's a shame we couldn't fulfill his last wish. That resentment was clearly directed at me, because I was the one who firmly opposed holding his funeral in M country. The day Gu Jinghe's will took effect, I finally learned he had another wife overseas, the one true love of his life. Lin Xingchen was the youthful sweetheart he never forgot. They pledged eternal devotion, vowing to give their hearts to no one else. All those years when Gu claimed business trips to M country, he was secretly meeting Lin Xingchen behind my back. Even in death, Gu Jinghe remains utterly unyielding. He left all the profits from the company we built together over the years, along with every property we purchased, entirely to Lin Xingchen. I've toiled my entire life for his company. After he retired in his old age, my child continued to work like a slave for the company. Now I'd become an outsider, left with nothing. How could I not feel bitter? Watching this den of thieves, I couldn't help but laugh. Lin Xingchen heard my laughter and turned to look at me. Her voice dripped with pitiful anguish. Hu Qingshuang, how can you be so heartless? Jinghe was your husband, and you dare to smile after his death. I curled my lips into a smirk. Since you love him so much, why don't you take your son and join him in the afterlife? Lin Xingchen's face instantly turned ashen. Furious, she pointed a trembling finger at me, unable to utter a single word. Why would Lin Xingchen ever die for love? She inherited Gu Jinghe's staggering fortune, enough to sustain 3 generations in luxury. I sneered. Greed knows no bounds, like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. The funeral ended with Gu Jinghe's family and friends collectively condemning me. They all thought I had no conscience. Jinghe has been more than generous to you. Even though his heart belongs to the stars, he still chose to give you the rightful status after careful consideration back then. How could you harbor such hatred for him? If you ask me, Jinghe should never have shown mercy in the first place. He let this woman run rampant for so long that she couldn't even see the one she truly loved before dying. They all stood on their moral high ground, condemning me as if I had committed some heinous crime. I can't be bothered to listen to their nonsense. He stood up, grabbed Gu Jinghe's portrait from the side, and smashed it violently onto the ground. The glass shattered into pieces. Everyone was stunned. I stared coldly at Gu Jinghe's face in the portrait. My apologies, that was an accident. He then walked straight out of the memorial hall. Outside, his daughter had been waiting for a long time. I didn't let her go in because I didn't want her to be disgusted by her own father. She saw me and asked anxiously, Mom, did those people give you any trouble? I shook my head. She and her son took so much money. If they know what's good for them, they should get out of here and stop bothering us. If she dares to cause me any more trouble, I won't hesitate to burn bridges. Only then did my daughter breathe a sigh of relief. Let's go, Mom, I've had enough of this place too. Let's move to another city and start fresh. She tightened her grip on my hand and was about to lead me into the car when a group of uninvited guests showed up. My daughter warily shielded me behind her and demanded, Who are you? The leader of the group spat on the ground, his face twisted with malice. Is your husband Gu Jinghe? He owes us money, we're here to collect. I furrowed my brow deeply. The company I run with Gu Jinghe makes hundreds of millions in annual revenue. How could we possibly have outstanding debts? My first thought was that this had to be a scam, but then, to my surprise, someone I never expected dropped to their knees right in front of me. His face was bruised and swollen, covered in snot, but when I saw who it was, my eyes widened in disbelief. I couldn't hide the anger in my voice. Old Wang, did they do this to you? Old Wang had been with our company for decades as a technical shareholder, and he was also my closest friend. He broke down in tears. Sister Hua, that bastard Gu is inhuman. He transferred all the company's assets overseas, By the time we found out, it was too late. Now he's racked up 80 million in debt under the company's name here in the country, and there's no way we can pay it back. I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning. Gu Jinghe, how dare he? My vision went dark and I nearly fainted. My daughter quickly caught me. She was furious. Go ask the woman inside for the money. We have nothing to do with Gu Jinghe anymore. She's his lawful wife. The loan shark chuckled. Sorry, but you're Mr. Gu said if we want the money, we should ask the woman with the scar on her face. The woman with a scar on her face. That's me. It happened back when Gu Jinghe and I had just started our business. We were running around to all sorts of cocktail parties, desperate to secure investments from the big players. Then one time, we ran into an unreasonable businessman, and Gu Jinghe got into a heated argument with him on the spot. In the scuffle, the man smashed a glass violently. To protect Gu Jinghe, I stepped in front of him. The shattered glass left me permanently disfigured right then and there. I stood frozen in shock. A surge of pure hatred welled up inside me. I wanted to dig up Gu Jinghe's grave that very instant, rip out his heart and see what it was made of. The leader didn't waste any more words. He grabbed his weapon and swung at my daughter. Enough with the excuses. Pay up today, you hear me? I quickly shielded my daughter, but she gritted her teeth and yelled angrily. I told you we don't have the money. Go ask the people inside for it. A heavy blow landed on me. I couldn't withstand the force of the impact and immediately coughed up blood. Mom, my daughter's piercing cry echoed in my ears. Those men showed no empathy as they continued beating my daughter and me. Blow after blow rained down on us until my daughter was beaten beyond recognition. No matter how desperately I screamed for help, not a single soul emerged from the funeral hall to save us, until I clearly felt my daughter beside me gradually stop breathing. Overwhelming hatred consumed me. Before dying, I sensed someone standing before me, watching. Summoning every last ounce of strength, I opened my eyes and looked up. It was Lin Xingchen. Her eyes held a chill as deep and fathomless as an abyss, yet the corners of her lips curled into a faint smile. That bitch who stole my love. In the haze of sleep, I faintly heard the murmur of voices. Arrange the best VIP suite for Xingchen in M country. Cost is no object. Just remember, be smart about it. No one can know. It was Gu Jinghe's voice. Hearing his words, I was consumed with such intense hatred that I wished I could instantly transform into a vengeful spirit and tear him to pieces. The voice on the other end of the line hesitated. Mr. Gu, should we arrange one for MS Hu as well? This is M country's top-tier prenatal care center. Do you think just anyone can secure a spot here? He said impatiently. There's only one opening, and it's reserved for Xingchen. Hu Qingshuang doesn't need it. Understood, Mr. Gu, I'll take care of it. That was the voice of Gu Jinghe's secretary, growing increasingly uneasy. I snapped my eyes open. I found myself in the bedroom I shared with Gu Jinghe. I glanced at the time. It was the winter solstice 30 years ago, the very day I'd just found out at the hospital that I was pregnant. So, have I actually been reborn? How fair fate can be, granting me this chance to start everything anew, without a second thought. I seized the moment while Gu Jinghe was distracted, got up and hurried downstairs to hail a cab straight to the airport. On the way, I called the prenatal care center Gu Jinghe had mentioned in his earlier phone call. Since Gu Jinghe's secretary hadn't transferred the payment yet, I immediately paid the deposit from my M country account to secure the last available VIP suite. Then, I booked my flight to M country. I gently stroked my belly. The little life growing inside me was my daughter, the one I'd cherished my whole life, yet who ultimately died because of Lin Xingchen. In this lifetime, my original plan was to find a doctor in our home country who had been close to my parents, so I could give birth under proper care. But hearing how meticulously Gu Jinghe was scheming for Lin Xingchen's benefit, did he really think I'd let him have his way? I was leisurely sipping tea in the VIP lounge of the care center. Gu Jinghe arrived in a flurry with Lin Xingchen and his mother, all looking rather travel-worn. Who reserved the VIP room? I'll pay extra. Hand it over to me, he sneered, slapping his black card on the table, and added, is this enough? If not, I'll pay more. Gu Jinghe's mother also threw her weight around, saying, my son has more than enough money. You'd better think twice before crossing the wrong person. The staff member said awkwardly, Mr. Gu, this is the person who wants to book our private room. Only then did Gu Jinghe notice me sitting on the sofa nearby. He exclaimed in surprise, honey, what are you doing here? Suddenly aware of Lin Xingchen beside him, he hastily stepped away from her. He stammered, honey, let me introduce you. This is Lin Xingchen, the widow of my best friend. She's been living in M country and asked me to look out for her. Lin Xingchen nodded awkwardly. Hello, ma'am. I set down my tea and raised an eyebrow. You're certainly looking out for your friend's wife. So much so that you'd snatch your own wife's VIP room for her. Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? He seized the opportunity to shift blame, his tone accusatory. Besides, there's no need for you to get prenatal care in country, Mom, and I would have taken good care of you. Xingchen is different. She's delicate and gets sick easily. She needs this private room more. Be reasonable and let her have it. Taken care of me. In my previous life, neither he nor his mother lifted a finger to help during my entire pregnancy. I was so determined to save money for his startup that I didn't even hire a postpartum caregiver. I'd been nauseous and miserable every day, with no one even to boil water for me. When I was writhing in pain, I called Gu Jinghe. He told me he was too busy at work to come back, and that his mother was sick so he couldn't take care of me either. Turns out he was actually in country taking care of Lin Xingchen all along. No wonder I was all alone in the hospital the day I gave birth to my daughter. I didn't even have time for postpartum recovery. Not only did I have to care for my daughter, but I also had to keep working and managing the company, and all that blood, sweat, and tears, just so Gu Jinghe could enjoy his happy little family of 3 abroad. At that thought, I sneered, why should I give it up, Gu Jinghe? I reserved this private room first. What gives you and her the right to even think about taking it from me? Gu Jinghe was seething with anger, but he didn't dare argue with me. After all, I raised the funds for his current financing round. As the company's largest shareholder, he naturally had to defer to me in everything. He had no choice but to swallow his frustration and comfort Lin Xingchen, who was putting on a pitiful act beside him. In a hoarse voice, he reassured her, don't worry. I'll find you someone better. Just then, an elegantly dressed woman suddenly walked in from outside. She exclaimed with exaggerated surprise, Miss Lin, what are you doing here? Lin Xingchen's eyes lit up as if spotting a savior. Alice, I was hoping to do my postpartum confinement here, but Miss Hua has already reserved the spot. The American woman named Alice furrowed her brows after hearing the whole story and said to me, I'm sorry, ma'am, but Miss Lin is a dear friend of mine. The VIP suite is naturally reserved for my friend. I'll have to ask you to cancel your booking. A subtle smirk crept across Lin Xingchen's lips. It was only then that Gu Jing and his mother, who had been quietly observing from the sidelines, stepped forward to flaunt their triumph. Oh, Qing Xuan, having connections really does make a difference, doesn't it? A VIP room is just a snap of the fingers away, Gu Jinghe said with a hint of mockery. Qing Xuan. I suppose you'll have to step aside now. I shrugged and gave up my spot to them. Gu Jinghe stepped forward confidently, picked up his card, and swiped it through the POS machine. Just as Gu Jinghe was feeling quite pleased with himself, the receptionist who had greeted us gave him an awkward look. Sorry sir, your card isn't going through. Could you call your bank back home to check? Gu Jinghe froze for a moment. How could it not work? Your card machine must be broken. Lin Xingchen also stared in disbelief. That can't be right. How could Jinghe's card possibly be declined? The card really won't go through, sir. It's possible the funds have been frozen. Gu Jinghe seemed to realize something then. His face turned pale as he looked at me. I gave a faint smile. As the company's largest shareholder, freezing one of your cards is nothing. Why look so shocked? If I wanted to, I could freeze all your assets. What are you trying to do? I ignored him and turned to Alice, saying, now, can you get me the VIP suite? Sensing the tension, Alice fawned over me. Of course, Miss Hua. I'll take you to see it right away. The other 3 stood frozen in place, their expressions so mortified they wished the ground would swallow them whole. Gu Jinghe, flushed with anger, snapped at me. Hua Qingshuan, how dare you humiliate your own husband in front of others? Have I ever deprived you of food or clothing? After your parents passed, I was the one who took care of you. I promised to marry you. Without me, where would you be today? His face grew redder as he spoke, clearly seething with anger. I stood up and let out a contemptuous snort. Since we've come this far, and with everyone here today, there's something I need to tell you. Gu Jinghe, I want a divorce. Looking at your face makes me sick to my stomach. The care center kicked Gu Jinghe and his group out when they realized they couldn't pay. After being thrown out, a furious Gu Jinghe shouted from outside, vowing to make my life miserable. I let out a cold laugh and called my lawyer. My husband committed bigamy. I need you to come to country to gather evidence. Once we have the evidence, I'm taking him to court. The lawyer quickly took on the case. Right now, my biggest hope is for my daughter to be born safe and healthy, so, during this pregnancy, since I can't fully focus on dealing with Gu Jinghe, this is the only way to keep him locked up for a while. Before long, I was settled into the VIP suite. Meanwhile, Gu Jinghe returned to the country with Lin Xingchen. He planned to seize all my assets and shares while I was abroad. The staff I'd always looked after caught wind of this and began their quiet resistance. Old Wang also sent a message saying that if I decided to go solo, he'd definitely follow me. The lawyer quickly gathered all the evidence in Country M proving that Gu Jinghe and Lin Xingchen had been married. He filed a lawsuit against Gu Jinghe on my behalf. In court, despite Gu Jinghe and his lawyer arguing until they were blue in the face, the overwhelming evidence left them with no room for rebuttal. In the end, Gu Jinghe was sentenced to 10 months in prison. My lawyer managed to secure me a crucial 10-month reprieve, which gave me the peace of mind to give birth and prepare to continue my fight against Gu Jinghe after his release. Without Gu Jinghe by her side, what trouble could Lin Xingchen possibly stir up? She watched helplessly as the love of her life was imprisoned, reduced to weeping day after day with no power to change his fate. Chapter 2. Of course, I made sure Lin Xingchen wouldn't have an easy time during this period either. 2. After I froze all of Gu Jinghe's domestic assets, he, his mother, and Lin Xingchen were left with nowhere to live. They had no choice but to spend all their savings to rent a single room in an urban village. With Lin Xingchen being pregnant, Gu Jinghe's mother was the only one who could go out to work. When she was retching and nauseous, there wasn't a soul around to take care of her. Gu Jing and his mother came back from work, and their daily wages weren't even enough to buy a piece of meat. Lin Xingchen complained, "Fine, no one takes care of me all day, but can't we even afford meat? If I'm malnourished, what if my baby isn't as strong as that bitch with Qing Shuang's child?" Gu Jing and his mother had had enough too. They slammed down their chopsticks and scolded, "Eat it or don't. What did I do to deserve such a useless daughter-in-law? You don't respect your mother-in-law, you can't earn money, and yet you're always nitpicking. I regret ever letting my son leave Qing Shuang for you." Lin Xingchen sobbed. "Once Jinghe gets out of prison, that bitch will pay for what she's done. It's all her fault our lives have been ruined like this." Meanwhile, I was being pampered in a VIP suite in M Country, enjoying the finest services. The therapists gently massaged my body, constantly checking if I was comfortable. Every meal featured the most premium organic vegetables and fresh meats. I closed my eyes, listening to prenatal education music through my earphones. This was the life Lin Xingchen led during her pregnancy in our previous life, yet I never got to experience it. Does Lin Xingchen really think their current situation is the worst it can get? No. When Gu Jinghe is released from prison, what awaits them won't be the dawn's light. It was a living hell. The 10 months flew by, and I gave birth to my daughter without any complications, as I gently traced my daughter's delicate features. A genuine smile, the first since my rebirth, spread across my face. "Welcome back to this world, my precious one." I gently pressed a kiss to her forehead, never expecting her eyes to flutter open. Instead of crying, she broke into a smile. In that instant, I knew, my daughter had been reborn too. She babbled excitedly, "Mama, Mama." Tears welled up in my eyes and streamed down my face. I held her tight and sobbed uncontrollably. 10 months later, Gu Jinghe was released from prison. Lin Xingchen stood gauntly at the prison gates. She held her newborn son in her arms, who was still wailing loudly. Her hair was disheveled, her face haggard, with none of the radiant energy she once possessed. Gu Jinghe had just been released from prison when he saw Lin Xingchen in this state, his eyes flashing with instant disdain. When Lin Xingchen spotted him, a flicker of joy finally crossed her face. "Look, son, Daddy's out." With tears streaming down her face, she shoved their son into Gu Jinghe's arms and poured out all the hardships she'd endured. "You have no idea how hard it's been. We don't even have air conditioning at home, and every day we're stuck eating spoiled leftovers. Just giving birth to our son took every last bit of strength I had." Just as he was about to speak to Lin Xingchen, he happened to glance down at his son and his expression suddenly changed. He murmured in disbelief, "This is my son." Gu Jinghe was utterly shocked. The baby in his arms even appeared somewhat deformed. "Without a proper caregiver and your mother barely feeding me, how could our son get proper nutrition?" She wept bitterly. "I'm lucky to have given birth at all. I hemorrhaged during delivery and almost never saw you again." Disgust burned brighter in Gu Jinghe's eyes. He couldn't accept that the pure first love from his youth now stood before him disheveled. Claiming a deformed child was his son, his idealized image of Lin Xingchen shattered completely. Gu Jinghe forced a strained smile. "Let's go home first, we'll talk there." After his release from prison, Gu Jinghe moved into an urban village. In their destitute surroundings, Lin Xingchen remained idle and gluttonous, ignoring their son's desperate cries of hunger. Meanwhile, Gu Jinghe's mother, exhausted from overwork, lay bedridden with multiple illnesses, unable to afford medical treatment. Clutching his elderly mother's hand by the bedside, he was overwhelmed with anguish. His mother murmured, "We never should have chosen Lin Xingchen. One wrong step led to a lifetime of regrets. I thought I could hide it from Hu Qing Shuang forever." Gu Jinghe sobbed bitterly. Who knew she'd find out? It's all my fault. I shouldn't have sided with Lin Xingchen and made Qing Shuang feel betrayed. If I hadn't, you wouldn't be in this state now. Gu Jinghe was filled with regret. Lin Xingchen simply couldn't give him everything he wanted, but now, it was all too late for any explanations. Over the past 10 months, I've used every means possible to transfer all of Gu Jinghe's and my shared assets entirely into my control. His accounts have been completely drained. He wanted to return to the company, so he approached Old Wang. During this period, I also returned to the country with my daughter. The company had been under Old Wang's management during this time. Now that I was back, he handed over the reins directly to me without paying any attention to Gu Jinghe. My first order of business was to convene a shareholders meeting and demand that the board remove Gu Jinghe. Gu Jinghe's bigamy scandal caused quite a stir online, which led to a drop in the company's stock price and left everyone resentful toward him. The voting results came in quickly, with the majority agreeing that Gu Jinghe should step down and sell his shares at half the market price. I swiftly and decisively ousted Gu Jinghe from the company, and he was completely powerless to resist. After the meeting, the receptionist quietly informed me that Gu Jinghe was waiting downstairs. Gu Jinghe's expression turned complicated the moment he saw me emerge, his demeanor shrinking into the dust with humility. He spoke hoarsely. Qing Shuang, I know you hate me. I never meant to hide it from you in the first place. It was all my fault. Look at me now. I've already been punished. Do you really have to be so absolute about this, Qing Shuang? Please don't get a divorce, okay? Our daughter shouldn't grow up without a father from the day she's born. He grabbed my sleeve, his eyes brimming with hope, as if he thought that as long as he admitted his mistake, I would turn back and take him in again, reconciling with him. Gu Jinghe, you've only lived in the urban village for a few days, and you can't stand it anymore. So you come running to me to put on this whole, deeply devoted act. I sneered. Let me guess, you're starting to despise your childhood sweetheart now. She even bore you a son. Gu Jinghe hurriedly distanced himself from her, dropping to his knees before me and desperately pleading. What does Lin Xingchen even amount to? She and that son of hers should just go back to M country, the farther the better. Darling, you're the only one in my heart now. I'm begging you, please don't leave me. I looked down at him with contempt and sneered, since you're so sincere, you must know what to say to Lin Xingchen when you get back. He looked up and nodded vigorously. I know, I'll go back and cut ties with her immediately. From now on, we're through for good. I had recorded my entire conversation with Gu Jinghe and sent it to Lin Xingchen. Lin Xingchen was beside herself. She couldn't believe these words came from Gu Jinghe. You shameless wretch. What underhanded tricks did you use to pressure Jinghe? Do you think having a few dirty coins makes you superior? Let me make this clear. I gave him a son that will always trump your daughter. Jinghe would never abandon me. Stop deluding yourself, you wretched woman. You fabricated this recording, didn't you? Don't think you can drive a wedge between Jinghe and me so easily. I raised an eyebrow and sneered, whether he said it or not. You'll find out when he gets home. The moment Gu Jinghe stepped through the door, Lin Xingchen threw herself into his arms. Her eyes were wide with terror. Jinghe, please tell me you didn't go see Hua Qingshuang today. That wretched woman just tried to drive a wedge between us, but I'd never let her succeed. As Gu Jinghe looked at the pale, gaunt woman before him, a profound sense of helplessness washed over him. He let out a heavy sigh and lit a cigarette. Something he hadn't done in a long while. Lin Xingchen, let's end this. Go back to M country. Lin Xingchen stared in disbelief. No, Jinghe, you're joking, right? This can't be real. She stumbled backward, step by step. He took a deep drag of his cigarette and said wearily, given my current situation, I can't support you anymore. At least that house in M country is one I bought for you before. It's the only asset I have left. Consider it compensation, and don't ever come back. Lin Xingchen's eyes reddened, her voice trembling as she said, Jinghe, how am I supposed to live without you? That day, Lin Xingchen carried their son and stepped onto the rooftop. Gu Jinghe was so terrified he nearly fainted, ultimately agreeing not to divorce Lin Xingchen. Seeing Gu Jinghe relent, Lin Xingchen quickly promised him, just wait and see. Jinghe, do you think Hua Qingshuang has won? Just because she gave birth to a daughter, our son will surely trample her daughter underfoot, leaving her with no chance of ever rising again. At my direction, I hired a professional actor to befriend Gu Jinghe, and the two quickly became friends. Through this actor, he gradually became exposed to an emerging industry and saw it as a viable investment opportunity to start a company. Chapter 3. They immediately hit it off and decided to co-found the company, with Gu Jinghe determined to make a comeback. 3. His first step was to borrow 1 million yuan from a loan shark. The company was quickly established with impressive initial funding. and Gu Jinghe regained his former confident and spirited demeanor. After the family moved to a nice residential area and their life improved, Lin Xingchen started to flaunt her newfound status. In the neighborhood, she always dressed in designer clothes and introduced herself as Mrs. Gu from a wealthy family. Lin Xingchen boasted to other mothers in the community about her son, covering her mouth as she giggled. "Oh, my son could recite texts by age 3. Even his preschool teacher says he's a genius." The other mothers weren't convinced. "Mrs. Gu, you're new here so you wouldn't know, but we have a real child prodigy living in our neighborhood. She could recite the 300 Tang poems by age 1, and now she's only 3. Not only does she speak fluently, but they say she can do almost anything you ask her." Lin Xingchen's face stiffened with disbelief. "You're pulling my leg, right? There's no such child, or is some mom just bragging her kid up to the skies? We wouldn't dare make this up. It was even in the news. Here, see for yourself." The mother handed her phone to Lin Xingchen. Lin Xingchen's expression grew increasingly grim as she stormed upstairs, teeth clenched in fury. She took out all her resentment on her own son, striking her 3-year-old's palm with a ruler. "This is what you get for slacking off. You can't even measure up to Hua Qingshuang's daughter. How do you expect to compete with them in the future? Go memorize your math problems now. No dinner until you finish." Gu Jinghe found it increasingly difficult to communicate with Lin Xingchen lately. Coming home to find her screaming like a shrew yet again just left him utterly drained. "Who got on your nerves this time?" "It's that wretched Hua Qingshuang again. They say her daughter's some kind of prodigy, but I bet she's just blowing smoke." Gu Jinghe's expression shifted slightly as he asked quietly, "What do you mean?" "I was chatting with the other moms downstairs today and found out Hua Qingshuang lives in this neighborhood too. Everyone's raving about her daughter being a child genius, claiming she knows everything about the heavens and earth at just 3 years old. Don't you think that's complete nonsense?" Lin Xingchen's rage escalated with every curse, until he swept all the bowls and chopsticks off the table in a furious outburst. Gu Jinghe frowned, feeling nothing but irritation. That evening, Gu Jinghe showed up at my doorstep. I was chatting with my daughter when she instinctively recoiled at the mention of her father. My daughter muttered gloomily, "I don't want to see him again." The memory of my daughter dying before my eyes in my past life made my expression turn cold. His days of living the high life are numbered. I carried my daughter back to the bedroom, then opened the door. Gu Jinghe said awkwardly, "Qingshuang, it's been a while. What do you want? I've missed you. And our daughter too. Where is she? Can I see her?" Gu Jinghe's audacity was beyond anything I could have imagined. "Oh really? My daughter doesn't want to see you. Get out of my sight right now." I tried to close the door, but he stopped it with his hand. Lin Xingchen threatened to kill herself that day, otherwise I would never have come back. "I deeply regret not cherishing you and our daughter when I had the chance. You even gave me an opportunity to start over. Qingshuang, please just let me see our daughter. She's so bright and clever, someday she could even take over both our companies." The bedroom door opened, and our daughter came out, pretending to be happy as she exclaimed, "Daddy." She threw herself into Gu Jinghe's arms, and he immediately embraced his daughter. Tears of joy streamed down his face as he whispered, "My dear daughter, I will find a way back to you." After Gu Jinghe left, his daughter stared with hatred in the direction he had gone. "Mom, the tracker is on him. It's time to close the net." In his previous life, Gu Jinghe owed loan sharks 80 million, which led to the tragic deaths of me and our daughter. I wonder if the loan sharks will spare his life this time around. I made a call to that actor, and he quickly fled the country. Once he was abroad, I gave him enough money to live comfortably for the rest of his life and told him never to come back. A whole week had passed before Gu Jinghe realized his business partner had vanished without a trace. He kept dialing the number, but no one ever picked up. Panic set in. This partner had secured at least 8 million in loans for their venture. With the guy gone, he'd be left holding the bag for the entire debt. Yet despite exhausting every possible method, all attempts to reach the man proved futile. Gu Jing's hair had turned noticeably gray from worry, yet he remained utterly incapable of repaying the crushing loan shark debt. He confided the whole situation to Lin Xingchen. Lin Xingchen's face drained of all color in shock. 8 million. How could we possibly come up with that kind of money? If all else fails, just run. There's no other way. Gu Jinghe hastily grabbed his passport. I booked the last flight to M country today. Let's go together. For the first time, Lin Xingchen hesitated at that moment. Jinghe, actually, I sold my house in the M country a few days ago and bought one in our neighborhood. I just didn't want to lose to Hua Qingshuang. Gu Jinghe was truly enraged this time. With all his strength, he slapped Lin Xingchen across the face. "You wretched woman, go to hell. I can't deal with you anymore." Are you done? Clutching his son, he stormed out of the house, leaving Lin Xingchen behind, continuously crying out, Jinghe, wait for me. Gu Jinghe showed up at my door again, this time with his son in tow. I came to say goodbye, Shuang, he said hoarsely, I'm leaving, and it's only now that I realize what a complete idiot I've been, all those stupid things I did behind your back, Shuang, I'm begging you, can you lend me 8 million? I swear I'll work my fingers to the bone to pay you back. Gu Jinghe looked so sincere, as if he'd merely made some trivial mistake. I couldn't help but laugh. Your partner skipped town, leaving you with 8 million in debt. Gu Jinghe, have you ever stopped to wonder who set you up? What do you mean? My daughter stood beside me and teased, Dad, do you like the gift? This is the last present you gave us, to me and Mom, in our previous life. Seeing us like this. Gu Jinghe instantly understood everything. He was furious. Hu Shuang, all I did was betray you. Was that worth taking my life? Chapter 4, Gu Jinghe. I'm so grateful fate gave me a second chance at life, just to watch a scumbag like you get what he deserves. 4. Overwhelmed with emotion, I felt tears welling up in the corners of my eyes. Go to hell, Gu Jinghe, when you're dead. Ask the king of hell why I'm so determined to end you. You and Lin Xingchen will pay with your lives. Gu Jinghe went berserk and tried to strangle me, but my daughter held up her tracker and said, Dear father, I've already sent your location to the loan sharks. If you don't run now, they'll beat you to death. Fuming with rage but powerless to do anything, Gu Jinghe shot us a death glare before hastily making his escape. While fleeing, Gu Jinghe hid in the bushes, but his son was so terrified that he burst into uncontrollable wailing. Gu Jinghe was on the verge of a complete meltdown. Screw this, without a second thought for his own flesh and blood, he abandoned the boy by the roadside and sprinted to the airport alone. But how could he possibly outrun those burly loan sharks? He's already been beaten to death, and the woman has lost her mind. The next time I heard about Gu Jinghe was in the news. Gu Jinghe was beaten to death over an 8 million yuan debt, while his son starved to death in the bushes and was even partially devoured by stray dogs. Lin Xingchen was driven mad with horror at the sight of her son in such a wretched state. Gu Jinghe's mother, consumed by grief, also fell ill and passed away not long after. After Lin Xingchen lost her mind, I visited the sanatorium where she was confined. She kept muttering incessantly about her past life and previous incarnations. She noticed me and immediately lunged forward, only to be stopped by the doctor. You've been reborn, you're here for revenge. Naturally, the doctors thought she was insane for saying such things. I remember now too. In your past life you were a complete loser. You pathetic bitch, you lost to me last time. Ha 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 ha, you lost to me. I looked at her with bitter amusement. But in this life, you're the one who's gone mad. Lin Xingchen, I won't let you die. I'll make you long for death but find it beyond your reach, you know. Without the prenatal care from the nursing center you had in your previous life, the son you gave birth to this time is just a mentally disabled child with cerebellar atrophy. At 3 years old, all he can recite is that Ode to the Goose poem, and you're the only one who treats him like a treasure. In your last life, you and Gu Jing were thick as thieves and stole all my money. Now you've received the same punishment in this life. How does that feel? I stood up, watching Lin Xingchen in his impotent rage, and smiled. But I don't need to know what you're thinking. You just need to understand that you'll be locked in this lightless ward forever. Everyone will believe you've truly gone mad, and in time, you will. Hu Shuang, drop dead. Aiwa, she screamed at the top of her lungs, but it was all in vain. After leaving the psychiatric hospital, my daughter sat quietly in the car. Her eyes lit up with stars as she exclaimed, Mom, in this lifetime, I will study hard and help you manage the company, expand it, and build a new business empire. My daughter's ambitions and ideals are truly grand. I laughed and said, sounds good, then Mom will wait for you to grow up and make us rich. Just you wait and see. Mom, I'll make sure you become the happiest mom in the whole world. Story 2. After the divorce, I received a large sum of money from an unknown source and a safe filled with my photos. On the back of each photo was written, wishing Shenxiji peace and smooth sailing. The name signed was Fu Yunchuan, the name of my ex-husband's brother. He had recently died of liver cancer. Starting over in another life, I returned to the day the marriage alliance between our families was agreed upon. Once again given the choice of a marriage partner, I did not hesitate to point to the person in the corner whose gaze had been fixed on me. I choose him. In the private room, there was laughter and cheerful conversation. The woman sitting opposite me smiled kindly. Shenxiji, which of our boys do you like? I snapped back to reality and scanned the surroundings. Wasn't this the place where the Shen and Fu families agreed to the marriage alliance 8 years ago? The realism of the moment made it hard for me to believe. I pinched myself, and the heart-wrenching pain made me realize this was not a dream. Before I could answer, a voice that I loathed to the point of nausea spoke up, Otsiji and I are truly in love. Please rest assured uncle and aunt, and entrust Otsiji to me. The speaker was the marriage partner I had chosen in my past life, the youngest son of the Fu family, Fu Yunjiang. I thought we were truly in love too, so I chose him without hesitation. After we got married, his true nature revealed itself. He gave me the cold shoulder, hardly spent nights at home, and made it clear that he married me only for the resources of the Shin family. I had a mental breakdown and asked for a divorce many times, but he refused. Eventually, when the Shin family was ruined and my father hospitalized with depression, he agreed to sign the divorce papers since I was no longer of any value to him. Just when I was at my lowest, a large sum of money appeared in my bank account. A person claiming to be Fu Yunchuan's assistant approached me and handed me a safe. Before leaving, the assistant told me, "This contains the most precious thing Mr. Fu had in this world. The code is your birthday, please make sure to open it, Miss Shen." I had an idea about the origin of the money in the bank, but I didn't understand why it was given to me. Filled with doubts, I opened the safe. Inside, it was filled with photos of me, from childhood to my wedding, and on the back of each photo, it read, "Wishing Shinseiji peace and smooth sailing." Fu Yunjiang once mentioned that his brother had an unrequited love, a white moonlight. A bold idea crossed my mind, but I had only met Fu Yunjiang's brother 3 times, once at the marriage alliance banquet, once at our wedding, and the last time at his funeral. How could he possibly have feelings for me? "Little Tsiji, speak up." My mother's voice pulled my thoughts back from the chaos. Seeing Fu Yunjiang's determined expression, I hardened my face, pointing to Fu Yunchuan, who sat in the dimmest light. I said firmly, "I choose him." "What did you say?" The whole room was shocked by my decision, with Fu Yunjiang reacting the most violently as he slammed the table and stood up. I said, "I choose Fu Yunchuan." I looked at Fu Yunchuan and spoke word by word, hoping he could hear clearly. From the beginning, I had felt a burning gaze following me, but I hadn't thought much of it. It had always been him. A flicker of surprise appeared in Fu Yunchuan's eyes, which quickly returned to normal, but his reddening ear tips betrayed his feigned composure. Fu Yunchuan adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and looked at me seriously. "Miss Shen, marriage is no child's play. I am a widower, not a divorcee. Please consider carefully." I didn't hesitate. "That suits me perfectly, Shin girl. Are you sure you've thought this through? Weren't you with Yunjiang?" Fu's mother tried to persuade me further, but I interrupted her. In my previous life, I had suffered at the hands of Fu Yunjiang, and I had sought her help to no avail. Every time I received the same response, "Fu Yunjiang is working hard out there. Just hang in there a little longer." But enduring it only led to increasingly severe situations. Suppressing an inexplicable sadness in my heart, I said, "You don't need to persuade me anymore. This time I choose Fu Yunchuan." "I don't agree," Fu Yunjiang retorted, his expression volatile. Fu's father gave him a stern look, prompting him to restrain himself. I knew about his bad temper. Even before we were married in my previous life, he would lose his temper at me. Looking back, I must have been blinded to have fallen for him. His agreement or disagreement doesn't count. My gaze swept past him and settled on Fu Yunchuan, meeting his deep, profound eyes. "I wonder if Mr. Fu agrees." He glanced at his watch. "The Civil Affairs office hasn't closed yet. Miss Shen, would you like to go now?" Of course. My usually silent father looked at me with a reluctant gaze. "Well, it resolves a long-standing issue between both families." After both families agreed, I followed Fu Yunchuan out of the private room. He carried himself with an upright grace, making even a plain black trench coat look distinguished and stylish. His long strides moved forward relentlessly, exemplifying what it means to walk with a breeze. After getting into the car, Fu Yunchuan didn't immediately start driving. His expression was serene as his hands, resting on the steering wheel, gradually clenched. "Where do you want to go now?" "I'll take you." I was puzzled. "Aren't we going to the Civil Affairs office?" Fu Yunchuan's tone was low, his eyes avoiding mine. "You weren't just saying that in the heat of the moment because you were upset with him." I instantly realized the misunderstanding and quickly explained, waving my hands. "No, I am serious about marrying you." The Fu Yunchuan I remembered was a decisive king in the business world, cold, proud, and distant. In my previous life, after I got married, Fu Yunjiang took over the domestic business while he expanded internationally. But today, I saw his vulnerable side. I remembered how in my previous life, he left me a fortune and locked my photo in a safe. A sudden sting in my heart, driven by curiosity, made me carefully ask him, "Mr. Fu, why did you agree to marry me?" He paused, a flicker of something unusual passing through his dark eyes. "Can I tell you later?" Alright, I was both apprehensive and eager as I awaited his answer. I was ready, yet he asked to wait. It felt like a TV lottery drawing where the power cuts off just before the last number is revealed. But since we weren't close yet and he didn't want to tell, I didn't press him, after all. There's still a long future ahead. At the entrance of the Civil Affairs office, I hesitated, the scenes of my marriage from my previous life vivid in my mind, casting a huge shadow that made me fearful. Noticing I hadn't followed, Fu Yunchuan, who was walking ahead, stopped, his expression turned despondent, his eyes gradually dimming. I realized that he was like a proud but insecure cat, extremely sensitive and inept at expressing himself, feeling somewhat embarrassed. I was about to explain when Fu Yunchuan preempted me. You still have the chance to back out now. Marriage is for a lifetime. If you don't want to marry me, I can take you home right now. The phrase a lifetime, which should have been beautiful and full of dreams, sounded unexpectedly solid coming from him. I hurried forward, linking my arm with his. Mr. Fu, the Civil Affairs office is about to close. Let's go in. In less than 5 minutes. Fu Yunchuan and I had our marriage certificate in hand. Fu Yunchuan looked at the little red booklet with a tender gaze, a subtle smile barely detectable at the corner of his mouth. I stared at the marriage certificate, still in disbelief that I had been reborn. Could all this be just a dream? Mr. Fu, I would like to go home for a bit. Sure, I'll take you there. Now that we're married, if you prefer not to live with me, I have no objections. It seemed my offhand comment had triggered an overreaction from him, reading too much into it. I mean, you can come with me. There are some household items that I need help with moving. Mr. Fu, okay. After packing some clothes and receiving a few words of advice from my parents, I followed Fu Yunchuan back to his private villa. His villa was elegantly simple from the outside, yet grand. The interior was done in natural wood, fitting his refined temperament perfectly. A faint scent of fresh grass and wood lingered in the air. If you don't like the decoration here, I can have someone change it tomorrow, he said, probably thinking I didn't like it after seeing me standing still, looking around for quite some time. No, I love it. May I know where my room is? I quickly added an explanation, fearing he might overthink again. Mr. Fu, even though we are officially married, we are still strangers. I think it's better to sleep in separate rooms for now. We have a lifetime ahead to cultivate our feelings. It won't be too late to share a room later. He nodded slightly in agreement, silently carrying the suitcase as we went upstairs. Passing by me, I heard him whisper very softly, "Actually, you can call me by my name." His shyness made me laugh. Who would have thought such a domineering CEO could be so innocent? You have nothing without the Shin family. You are nothing. The girls outside are much more interesting than you. Just hang out with my brothers for a while. Why pretend to be pure now? I knelt on the ground, pleading desperately. Yunjiang, please spare me. Spare the Shin family. Several hands reached toward me, roughly tearing at my clothes. No, don't. I suddenly sat up from the bed, breathing heavily, as thunder roared outside. The near bankruptcy of the Shin family in my previous life was a nightmare I could never forget. Fu Yunjiang was heartless, offering me up to his friends. Fortunately, my best friend arrived just in time to rescue me, barely clothed, wiping the sweat from my forehead. A thought gradually solidified in my mind. In this life, I was determined to make Fu Yunjiang empathize with my pain. However, by myself, I could never stand against the Fu family. If Fu Yunchuan was willing to help, things would be much easier. This was one of the reasons why I chose to ally myself with the Fu family again. The thunder outside continued relentlessly. It had completely driven away any sleepiness. My mouth was dry, so I decided to go downstairs for a water and wander around Fu Yunchuan's grand villa. Unexpectedly, as I passed by the study, I saw Fu Yunchuan still inside. Through the half-open door, I saw him holding a photograph, his eyes filled with love. It was already 4 in the morning. It would soon be daylight. Staying up all night isn't good for health. Staying up. Suddenly, I remembered that in my previous life, Fu Yunchuan had died of liver cancer. Could it have been due to staying up late? Ignoring politeness, I pushed the door open. Anxiously, I said, Fu Yunchuan, go to sleep. Staying up is bad for your health. Fu Yunchuan, startled by my sudden appearance, scrambled to stash the photographs on his desk into a safe. Realizing my rashness, sorry, I meant it's already 4 in the morning and you have to work, so you should get some rest now. Fu Yunchuan's smile had lingered in his eyes since he started looking at the photos, and this was the first time I saw him smile so openly. I'll put these things away and then go to sleep. As he spoke, he also placed our marriage certificate into the safe. Seeing the safe, identical to the one from my past life, the safe contains the most precious things in the world to him. The assistant's words echoed over and over in my mind. I asked him why he chose to marry me, perhaps already knowing the answer, but when did he start liking me? Why does he like me? Do I deserve his wholehearted love? What are you thinking about? Why are you awake? Are you scared of the thunder? Fu Yunchuan's 3 gentle inquiries and my 3 puzzled ones made me blurt out something ambiguous. Yes, I'm scared. I want you to be with me. Upon receiving a positive response from me, Fu Yunchuan did not hesitate. Okay. On the way back to the room with Fu Yunchuan, I really wanted to slap myself for speaking nonsense just now. I was the one who suggested sleeping in separate rooms, and now I was asking to sleep together. I didn't know what Fu Yunchuan would think, whether he would find me unreliable and not keeping promises. As soon as I entered the room, I was shocked by the striking red on the bed. The head of the bed was adorned with the character for happiness, and beside the bed were my favorite sunflowers. Fu Yunchuan had actually decorated the room like a bridal chamber. If I hadn't come to his room, I would have missed his intentions. Thinking about this, I looked at him with mixed emotions. His face flushed. He unconsciously fiddled with the hem of his clothes, like a child whose secret had been discovered. The housekeeper arranged it this afternoon. I didn't know how to respond. As my marriage to him was partly out of guilt and partly for a purpose, I don't deserve his affection. He deserves someone better to be by his side. Fu Yunchuan was confused by my silence, thinking I was disdainful of him. You sleep on the bed, and I'll stay by your side. I choked on 1,000 words and finally managed to say, thank you. Protected by Fu Yunchuan, I had a peaceful night's sleep, free from nightmares. When I woke up, only the housekeeper and a maid were cleaning the house. Upon seeing me, the maid smiled joyfully. Madam, you are even more beautiful than in the photos. Ah. The housekeeper, standing nearby, made faces, signaling the maid not to speak, but the maid didn't care. The sir has shown us your photos. I shyly smiled. Really? Absolutely. I often see the sir looking at your photos and smiling. He really loves you very much. The maid showed a bit of pride while the housekeeper closed his eyes, indicating he couldn't bear to watch. As the maid was about to say more, the housekeeper covered her mouth. But what he himself said was even more explosive. There's a large sunflower garden in the backyard, personally planted by the sir. I think he planted it because you like it. Would you like to go see it now? This must be what they mean by if you can't beat them, join them. Thank you for telling me. If they hadn't mentioned it, I might never have known these things from Fu Yunchuan, just as I would never directly ask him if he likes me. Just like the language of sunflowers is silent love, from sunrise to sunset. Sunflowers silently follow the sun, representing loyalty and devotion. That's why I like them. Looking at the sea of sunflowers before me, tears fell unknowingly. It seems I have found my lifetime sunflower. I dialed Fu Yunchuan's number. The moment the call connected, my voice trembled uncontrollably. Fu Yunchuan, I want to see you. Fu Yunchuan responded gently. Sweetheart, I'll be home soon. Besides the voice of Fu Yunchuan, I also heard someone calling for President Fu. He must be busy. And here I am adding to the chaos. I hastily wiped away my tears and snot, trying to keep my voice steady. You go ahead and take care of your things. After hanging up the phone, I sat alone amidst a sea of flowers, lost in thought. I'm not sure how much time had passed. Footsteps approached from behind, and I was sure it was Fu Yunchuan returning. I turned around joyfully, but the smile froze on my face the moment I saw who it was. And my first instinct was to step back. CI. Why was Fu Yunjiang here? Hearing him say my name only filled me with disgust, enough to make me want to retch. What are you doing here? CI. Why have you suddenly started ignoring me? Did I do something wrong? As he said this, he tried to touch me, attempting to embrace me. Panicking, I tried to pull away from his embrace, let go of me, but I didn't notice a step behind me. I missed it and instinctively lunged forward, falling into his arms. Just then, I saw a tall figure not far away watching us. By the time I steadied myself, the figure had disappeared. I had a bad feeling. He must be angry. Meanwhile, Fu Yunjiang kept babbling. You still love me, right? He still dared to talk to me about love. All I wanted was to tear him apart. Get lost. I'm already married to Fu Yunchuan. Stop bothering me. After pushing him away, I ignored the pain in my ankle and ran towards the house. I hadn't even entered the door when I heard the sound of things being smashed upstairs. A familiar figure hurried towards me as soon as he saw me. It was Fu Yunchuan's assistant from a past life. Madam, our sir has been quite unstable. I've already called the private doctor. Please madam, don't be afraid of sir, and don't get too close. I'm afraid he might hurt you. I shook my head. He's my husband. I'm not afraid. He was upset because of my emotional outburst. How could he hurt me? If anything, he gave me enough confidence to believe he would never harm me. I pushed open the bedroom door, and the room was a mess. but the sunflowers at the bedside were still intact. Fu Yunchuan, with his back to the door, picked up something and was about to throw it at the door, and he yelled, "Get out!" His hand trembled slightly in the last moment before throwing, letting the object fly past me. I was unharmed, but Fu Yunchuan was visibly shaken and quickly strode towards me. He raised his hand wanting to check if I was hurt but, fearing my anger, he lowered it again. His eyes, large and teary, stared at me unblinkingly, looking rather pitiful with a hint of fear of being abandoned flickering through them. "Tell me, why are you angry?" He remained silent. "Is it because you saw me with Fu Yunjiang?" He nodded slightly. He tried to make advances on me. I dodged and accidentally missed a step, instinctively grabbing him. "So there's nothing between us, don't overthink it." "Okay," he nodded again, the tension in his neck easing, apparently no longer angry. I looked at him with sympathy. "Next time, please ask me first, don't just sulk on your own." Okay. Did you get hurt anywhere?" He raised his hand, childlike, showing me his wound. "My hand hurts. Let's not have a next time." Outside the door, the family doctor and the assistant excitedly embraced each other. Finally, someone can take charge of the boss, no more living in fear. A medical miracle indeed, someone more effective than a sedative, me. From Fu Yunchuan's family doctor, I learned that Fu Yunchuan suffers from bipolar disorder, sometimes depressive and sometimes irritable. His condition developed over the years during his upbringing. Being the eldest son, the elders in the Fu family were very strict with him from a young age. The heavy responsibilities of the family mostly fell on him, while Fu Yunjiang could choose to do anything he liked. But as the older brother, he could not. In my previous life, before I got married, Fu Yunchuan was in charge of the family's domestic business. After getting married, he went abroad to start from scratch and help expand the family's international business. Fu Yunchuan has always been alone. Learning the full story deepened my resentment toward Fu Yunjiang, wishing I could send him to prison right now. Yes, to prison. As far as I know, Fu Yunjiang has been involved in numerous illegal activities. If I could get the evidence, I could definitely ruin him completely. But this would inevitably affect the Fu family, and I don't want Fu Yunchuan to be hurt, so, I still need to ask for his opinion. During our usual evening walk after dinner, I gathered the courage to ask, "Yunchuan, what would you do if one day you found out a family member was doing something wrong?" He suddenly stopped, letting me look into his eyes. His indulgent gaze seemed to tell me that no matter what, he would be my strong support. Afraid that I might not understand, he gave a firm answer. "Whatever you would do, I would do." The setting sun cast a beautiful glow over the sea of sunflowers, overwhelmed by the beauty. I couldn't help but stand on my tiptoes to kiss Fu Yunchuan. The kiss was intense. And as I pressed my lips against his, he initially stiffened but then smiled slightly, turning passivity into dominance, assertive and domineering. It was a while before he let me go, his voice hoarse with desire. "Sweetheart, stop tormenting me. I'm not that strong-willed." I clearly understood his meaning, burying my head in his chest coyly. "Perhaps we could go to the room." He scooped me up like a hungry wolf, his breath moist in my ear. No backing out. I also made my intentions clear to him, no regrets in this lifetime. After a night of passion, when I woke up, it was already noon. Even Fu Yunchuan, who usually wakes up before 7, was still lying beside me. Seeing me awake, he reached out to pull me into his arms. "Are you hungry? Starved?" My voice was hoarse, barely squeezing out the words. The instigator, seeing my disheveled state, actually laughed, annoyed. I kicked him a few times. "Fu Yunchuan, you still dare to laugh? Tonight I'm sleeping in another room, sweetheart. It's not up to you." Indeed, even the most gentle-looking men release their wild side once they've had a taste. How did the checkup go? Remembering that he died of liver cancer in my previous life, I had him undergo a full-body checkup. While eating, Fu Yunchuan put down his chopsticks. "Do you think I'm not okay?" His intense gaze made me feel as if saying yes would guarantee I wouldn't be able to leave the bed for days. Scared, I even dropped the food I was holding. No. Being healthy and being okay are two different things. I hope you can stay with me for a long time. All indicators are very healthy. I can satisfy you. This man changes too quickly. Just a short while ago, even holding hands made him blush for a long time. You, don't talk nonsense." After Fu Yunchuan left for the office, I drove to a bar. This bar is privately owned by Fu Yunjiang, and it contains a hidden space where he frequently conducts illegal transactions. Regrettably, I couldn't remember the exact location, otherwise, I wouldn't have agreed to meet Fu Yunjiang. "Fu Yunjiang, I'm waiting for you at the entrance, baby, I'll be right there." Laughter came through the phone, and if you listened closely, you could even hear bashful panting. It was utterly disgusting how he could hold one woman while calling another woman baby, less than 2 minutes after hanging up. He rushed towards me with a flushed face. That was fast. Xiao, I've missed you so much. Instinctively, I took a step backward as he reached out to me. To avoid arousing his suspicion, pretending to be shy, I said, Brother Yunjiang, I missed you too. This is the proposal for Fu Yunchuan's next project. For the sake of my goals, I had to endure. Baby, you're wonderful. He happily took the USB drive and casually grabbed my hand. Currently, Fu Yunchuan is the head of the Fu Corporation, while Fu Yunjiang is just a department manager, having only recently joined the company. When Fu Yunchuan first joined the company, he started from the very bottom, but Fu Yunjiang was given a high starting point by their father, yet, he was not satisfied. In the past, before he was married, he often complained to me about always living in his brother's shadow and how their parents were biased, and I, foolishly, asked my father to give him the Shin Corporation project to help him climb the corporate ladder. In this life, without the support of the Shin family, he is nothing. Thus, he harbored malicious thoughts, hoping to use me to bring down Fu Yunchuan. Foolish man, resorting only to such despicable tactics. The show has started, and no matter how difficult, I must play my part. Brother Yunjiang, I am nice to Fu Yunchuan only so you can take over the Fu family business sooner. I pushed you away last time because Fu Yunchuan was watching. CI still needs to stay undercover to help you get the information. You wouldn't blame CI, right? I even squeezed out a few tears after saying this. Fu Yunchuan is going abroad tomorrow for business. Can you take me here for fun? I also want to enter your circle. Excitement was unmistakable in Fu Yunjiang's eyes. He had always hinted at wanting to bring me here in his past life. I despised places like this, and I always refused. Eventually, he lost patience and forcibly brought me here to satisfy his peculiar tastes. CI, why would a young lady come to a bar? Let's go somewhere else to have fun. Such a hypocrite, putting on a show of decency. CI is not a child anymore. I am willing to cooperate with Brother Yunjiang. Let's come here, you disobedient little girl. I'll bring you here tomorrow. Don't be upset. That was the phrase I was waiting for. I lowered my head and pushed his hand away, not letting him see the lack of a smile on my face. I have been out for too long. Fu Yunchuan might get suspicious. I should head back. Fortunately, Fu Yunjiang cooperated and let go of my hand. CI, can I have a kiss from you? Even at the verge of leaving, this sleazy man still wanted to disgust me. After a few uncontrollable twitches at the corner of my mouth, I forced a smile. Brother Yunjiang, it's too public here. And you know I'm shy. Wait to have your way tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be waiting for you. The first thing I did when I got home was wash my hands. Dirty. It was really filthy, so I increased my effort, completely ignoring my hands that had started to bleed, until someone knocked on the bathroom door. Xiao Guai, what are you doing in there? It was Fu Yunchuan. I hadn't expected him to come home so early today. What should I do? Fu Yunchuan is so thoughtful. He will definitely be worried about me. The urgent knocking sounded again. If I didn't go out now, the door would probably not hold. It's okay, I'll be right out. Fortunately, the wound wasn't big. As long as it wasn't visible, it wouldn't be noticed. But Fu Yunchuan knows me too well. He always notices when something is off and manages to pinpoint the issue. He gently held my hand, blowing on it softly. It seemed like he thought this method could lessen my pain, and indeed, it did help. Did he do this? I knew it. Fu Yunchuan must have known that I went to see that person, which is why he came home right after me. I lowered my head, unable to meet his eyes. No, I did it myself. Fu Yunchuan took a deep breath and continued to blow on my hand. I cautiously looked up, trying to read the expression on his face. Aren't you going to ask why I went to see him? A smile flickered in his eyes. Because I trust you. I hope you can rely on me. Tell me what happened, and let me share the burden. Hearing the word rely, I could no longer hold back, and tears burst forth like a flood. Ever since my rebirth, I had been on edge, afraid of repeating past mistakes, afraid to show my vulnerability, afraid of being abandoned again. Each time, it was Fu Yunchuan who, when I was on the brink of an abyss, would tell me, hold on to me, I'll get you out. I told Fu Yunchuan everything about my rebirth, my marriage to Fu Yunjiang, and the near assault. I had thought before not to disclose the disgraceful incidents, worried he might despise me, but now, I just wanted Fu Yunchuan to accept all of me, good and bad, knowing he could embrace it all. After listening, Fu Yunchuan comforted me to stop crying while his own eyes turned red. I'm sorry, I should have been braver, confessed to you earlier, and prevented your hurt. I gently wiped away his tears with my fingertips. Thank God for giving me a second chance, allowing us not to miss out on each other again. Something seemed to dawn on Fu Yunchuan, his gaze turning murderous. It's time to clean house. I won't hinder your plans, but you must follow my arrangements, as you command. The next day, I kept my appointment punctually, wearing the boldest makeup and the thickest clothes. Fu Yunchuan wouldn't let me wear a skirt and even put a jacket on me. So much so that when Fu Yunjiang saw me, he was baffled. A CI, are you cold? I forced a smile. I have a cold, afraid of the cold. Disdain flickered in Fu Yunjiang's eyes. Who comes to a bar in a white t-shirt and jeans? It's okay, it'll be warm inside. He was already eager, wrapping his arm around my waist and leading me into the bar, following Fu Yunjiang through 3 long corridors, until we reached a wall. He pressed hard on a dragon-shaped fixture on the wall. A door appeared out of nowhere. It was clear that he had put a lot of thought into constructing this hidden room. Inside the concealed space, the lighting was even more glaring than outside. Several couples sat on the sofas, openly engaging in their activities, kissing and more. The feeling of physical discomfort intensified. Guys, this is my girlfriend, Miss Shin from the Shin family. Isn't she beautiful? After saying this, he handed me a glass of wine. I continued to play sick, Brother Yunjiang. I took some antibiotics. I can't drink alcohol. Before coming here, Fu Yunjiang repeatedly reminded me not to touch anything, especially food and drinks. Unrelenting, Fu Yunjiang suggested, then have some juice. To avoid arousing his suspicion, I reluctantly accepted it. Then I changed the subject. They look so happy. I want to be happy too. Fu Yunjiang pointed to the drink in my hand. Drink this. And I'll tell you how. He was indirectly forcing me to drink. And I knew without a doubt that something had been added to it. What if I don't drink it? I swirled the juice, feigning innocence. Fu Yunjiang, undeterred and with a sleazy expression, said, then let's get started. After pushing me onto the sofa with force, he hurriedly began to unbuckle his belt, while the onlookers cheered him on. Master Fu, Miss Shin clearly needs some disciplining. Let the brothers witness Master Fu's prowess today. Their comments became increasingly explicit. And Fu Yunjiang was visibly excited by the provocation. I watched as if it were just a spectacle. Not frightened at all, because my police best friend and Fu Yunjiang were already waiting outside the door. Just then, as if on cue, there was a roar. Damn it, how dare you touch my woman? The man who was on top of me was kicked into the corner. After a few more punches, Fu Yunjiang was left unable to move. Once again, it was my best friend who first came to my rescue. Fu Yunjiang rushed in, headed straight for me on the sofa, scooped me up, and pressed me tightly against his chest. Shin Ci, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Yes, I love seeing you go crazy for me. Actually, when we found this hidden room, I could have signaled to wrap things up, but I deliberately delayed to make Fu Yunjiang anxious. Bai Yuyu's brows were furrowed. Hey, you two can be affectionate back at home. Thank you, Yuyu. Thank me by giving me a godson or goddaughter soon. I want to raise them from a young age, train them. The peaceful scene was interrupted by groans from the corner. Fu Yunjiang, disappointed like a parent with an unfulfilling child, added 2 more kicks. You've completely tarnished the Fu family's reputation, focusing on these shady businesses instead of the Fu Corporation. And don't think I don't know about your financial dealings with other companies. I've already handed over the evidence of your bribery and tax evasion to the police. Just wait for your imprisonment. Fu Yunjiang struggled to lift his head. Dad will help me. What a joke. I knew his parents from the Fu family, who were strict and honorable, would never help him. He was a cancer to the family, and it was already merciful that they hadn't cut him off sooner. Fu Yunjiang, with a frosty face, relayed a message from his father. You are no longer a member of the Fu family. Fu Yunjiang tried to argue further, but Bai Yuyu, annoyed by the noise, had him dragged away. The ending I had long hoped for was finally realized, and the heavy stone in my heart was lifted. All the happiness seemed surreal. Fortunately, I have a husband who understands my love-struck mind, and he can turn the unreal into reality. Honey, what's our next mission? Organize a wedding and then have a baby. The wedding arrived as scheduled. Before the wedding day, Fu Yunchuan had been keeping secrets and didn't reveal any details to me. Finally, the day arrived. I held my father's hand, waiting for the entrance gate to slowly open. The wedding march began to play. The venue was decorated entirely with sunflowers, as beautiful as an oil painting. Seeing the scene, identical to one from a past life, I instantly understood that Fu Yunchuan had personally arranged my previous wedding as well. Tears inevitably started to fall. It was my fault for being so oblivious. I was constantly surrounded by his love yet never truly perceived it. At the wedding speech, Fu Yunchuan looked at me with adoring eyes and loudly exclaimed, "Wife, I hope your life is peaceful and smooth, and I want the whole world to hear it. His childish behavior successfully made me laugh. Bow your head. I only want you to hear this. Fu Yunchuan obediently bent down. Then you must live well. Extra story. 1. The patient's breathing and heartbeat have been restored. I groggily opened my eyes to a bright light. When I opened my eyes again, excited voices filled the large hospital room. President Fu, you're awake. The doctors were lying. They said you had no will to live, that you might not wake up. Wang Yang, always so dramatic. Having spent a lot of time with Shen Xi, I had grown to enjoy this kind of liveliness. Where's my wife? For some reason, Wang Yang's bright smile vanished instantly, and he looked down, avoiding my gaze. After a moment of silence, he spoke in a very soft voice. President Fu, you are not married. What nonsense is this child talking about? If I weren't in such poor health, I would give him a good beating. How can you forget your wife, Shen Xi? Wang Yang quickly looked up to check my emotional state, then looked down again. You've forgotten again. Miss Shen passed away from liver cancer a year ago. You attended her funeral. You're talking nonsense. I just married her. My voice grew quieter, eventually turning into a murmur. Just now, she was whispering in my ear, telling me to live well. President Fu, please, don't get agitated. I'll call the doctor. I murmured softly. How can this be? She has just married me. But while I vehemently denied it, I was also gradually coming to terms with reality, too. After being discharged from the hospital, I went to the prison to visit someone. Brother, I know I was wrong. The person in front of me cried profusely, yet their face showed no sign of regret. A year ago, after hearing of Shen Xi's death, I thought Fu Yunjiang was joking. After rushing back to the country overnight, I saw Shen Xi at the memorial service. Fu Yunjiang's expression was the same as now, feigning regret. That night, after catching Fu Yunjiang bringing another woman home, it didn't seem like his first time. After I hit him, he provocatively said, that woman doesn't care about me anymore. She's a ghost now and cares even less. I realized that Shen Xi hadn't had a happy marriage. From Bai Yuyu, I also learned that Fu Yunjiang, that scoundrel, treated Shen Xi as a plaything and passed her around to others. As I couldn't find evidence to convict him, the matter was unresolved. After hearing all this, I felt my blood freeze, and I was beyond tears. She was supposed to be the son. How could she be so scarred? The person I held dear, he failed to cherish her. Leaving him in society would only cause harm, and it was time I cleaned house for the Fu family. Over 6 months, I gradually took control of the domestic businesses, collecting evidence of Fu Yunjiang's counterfeit goods and bribery, evidence of tax evasion. All of it was finally handed over to Bai Yuyu. No, you don't understand. Shen Xi will never come back. If it hadn't been for you, she wouldn't have died. I will not easily let go of anyone who has hurt Shen Xi. Before I left, I gave him a piece of news. You will spend the rest of your life inside, repenting. 3. It was evening, and I returned to the sunflower field. I sat where Shen Xi had sat in my dreams, reminiscing about the past. I met 10-year-old Shen Xi at the hospital when I was 15, the first time I saw her. I was sitting on a bench, daydreaming. A little girl holding a bouquet of sunflowers suddenly fell heavily in front of me. I moved my feet away in distaste and coldly watched as she picked herself up from the ground. After she stood up, she put her hands on her hips. Why didn't you help me up? I don't like physical contact and ignored her. Moving to another spot to sit, the little girl followed me relentlessly. You're sick, aren't you? That's why you don't have the strength. What a fool, making excuses for others. Then I'll give you a bouquet of sunflowers. Get well soon. I was just here to play. I wasn't sick. Seeing that I didn't accept them, she wasn't upset, and left the bouquet on the chair next to me before running off. The next day, I was sitting in the usual spot and saw that girl again, still smiling as she gave me a bouquet of sunflowers. From the third day on, I actually started looking forward to seeing her. After a long wait, I thought she wouldn't come again. Just as I was about to leave, she asked, Brother, are you feeling better? I nodded, looking at the sunflowers in her hand. She immediately understood and handed me a bouquet. Get well soon. For the next month, I was there every day waiting for her. As long as it didn't rain, she would come. But then, she stopped coming. After inquiring at the hospital, I learned that the girl who brought sunflowers to the hospital every day was Shen Xi, the daughter of Uncle Shen. Fortunately, our families were on good terms, so there would definitely be a chance to meet again. Young love grew wildly. I wanted to see her but was also afraid she'd be scared. I only watched her from a distance. Finally, when she grew up, under my encouragement, our parents decided on a marriage alliance with the Shen family. But why did she fall for Fu Yunjiang? We were the ones who met first. My heart sank into an icy cellar. I so wanted to tell her that I loved her. But seeing the happy smile on her face, I knew it was time to step back. I took on the task of preparing Fu Yunjiang's wedding. Perhaps this would give me brief comfort, fantasizing that she was marrying me. Before going abroad, I secretly took a photo of Shenxi's smile for the last time, capturing her happiest moment forever. In a daze, I saw Shenxi smiling again. I'm sorry I couldn't come back sooner. As I reached out to embrace her, her shadow disappeared. Suddenly, a gust of wind entered my embrace, spreading warmth throughout my body. I murmured in a trance. Is that you? As the wind blew past my ears, I seemed to hear Shenxi's voice. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Epilogue. The first meeting was a fleeting glance. The encounter was like spring to withered wood. The reunion was unexpected. Each day spent making up for regrets was a countdown to the end. In the end, it was all but a dream, and upon waking, you were no longer in this world. Do you regret it? You timid secret admirer. Story 2. On my best friend Fong Li's 22nd birthday. She was harassed by a drunk. As a black belt in Taekwondo, I accidentally killed the drunk while trying to protect her. However, in court, she refused to testify for me. I was sentenced to 3 years in prison for manslaughter. After being released from prison, I found that Fong Li had married my boyfriend, and they even had a daughter over 2 years old. They also plotted to marry me off to Fong Li's divorced and abusive older brother. Then, in a blink of an eye, I was back on Fong Li's 22nd birthday. Just a second ago, I had a car accident due to being in a daze. Then, when I opened my eyes, I was already back in my room. Seeing the time on my phone, I finally confirmed that I had really returned to the day of Fong Li's 22nd birthday. 3 years ago, I looked at myself in the mirror to attend the birthday party of my best friend, whom I had known since junior high school. I had carefully dressed up. There were messages from 2 people on my phone. One was from Fong Li. She sent a location and a voice message. When I clicked it, her sweet voice came through. Honey, this is the restaurant I booked. Don't go to the wrong place, okay? The other was from my boyfriend, Lin Yanhua. He sent a message. Yuan Qing, are you ready? I'm almost downstairs at your place. I rolled my eyes in my heart. In my past life, I thought they didn't have much interaction at this time. Hearing that a best friend was like a little mother-in-law, I added some money and bought an expensive necklace for Fong Li in Lin Yanhua's name. I wanted my best friend and my boyfriend to get along well. Who knew that when I got out of prison after 3 years, their child was already over 2 years old. Calculating by time, the child was already conceived at this time. Biting back the urge to curse them out, I sent a message to Fong Li. Honey, I accidentally sprained my ankle just now. I have to go to the hospital first. I'm extremely sorry for missing your birthday. I'll definitely make it up to you later. My family was better off than Fong Li's. Over the years, she had taken a lot of advantage of me, so on the surface, she was always obedient to me. She sent a bunch of concerned voice messages. I didn't click on them. I was afraid that I would vomit when I heard her overly sweet voice. Then I sent a message to Lin Yanhua. I'm not feeling well. You go by yourself. Without waiting for his reply, I set his WeChat to do not disturb. I looked back at the gifts on the bed. The necklace was to be given in Lin Yanhua's name, and I also bought her a bag in my own name. Neither of the 2 items was in a style I liked, so I took the 2 things and went to return them. 2. After returning the things and walking out of the luxury store, I casually opened Moments and saw Fong Li's post. She was wearing a white princess dress, holding a large bouquet of flowers, surrounded by gifts, looking like a little princess, and my Lin Yanhua was standing next to Fong Li. He was standing, his body slightly leaning towards Fong Li. At first glance, without knowing, people might think they were a couple. Disgusting things. Fong Li and I had known each other since middle school. Her family was ordinary. When the surrounding classmates were all unkempt and didn't know how to dress up, she was slender, fair-skinned, and had a soft voice. She didn't know how many boys' hearts she had captured, but where there is love, there is also hatred. One day after school, she was blocked in an alley by several little hooligan girls. The reason was simple. The boy that the little hooligan girls had a crush on liked Fong Li. When I was a child, I was in poor health, so my parents sent me to learn Taekwondo, originally just to strengthen my body. Who knew that I had extraordinary talent in this area and had few opponents at a young age. So when I saw Fong Li being bullied, I stepped in and drove those little hooligan girls away with a few moves. Before those little hooligan girls ran away, they shouted at me, Jiang Yuan Qing, I will never let you go. I put my hands on my hips and shouted at them. If you have the guts, come at me. My brother is Shen Tingxi from the senior high school department. I turned around and reached out to pull up Fong Li, who was crying pitifully. Since then, Fong Li and I, with completely different personalities, became close friends. Later, she also asked me why I had a different surname from my brother. I bit the straw of my yogurt, looked up at Shen Tingxi at the top of the honor roll, and didn't know how to tell her that Shen Tingxi lived in our house because his parents had both passed away. Seeing me hesitate, Fong Li gave me a playful smile. I won't ask about the private affairs of the rich, but, she paused and stepped forward to point at Shen Tingxi's photo. Do you mind if I chase your brother? 3. Before, I didn't understand, but after being reborn, I realized that from that time on, Fong Li seemed to be consciously trying to snatch things from me. She would borrow the clothes I just bought to wear, she would take my extracurricular books to read, she would also get to know my friends, and she even wanted to chase my brother. I was too young back then to tell good people from bad. When I knew that Fong Li wanted to chase Shen Tingxi, I even specifically went to tell Shen Tingxi. After hearing this, Shen Tingxi raised his eyes and glanced at me. Jiang Yuanqing, where's your ID card? I was a little confused, but I still took out my ID card from my bag. Here it is. Shen Tingxi snorted softly. Then please take a good look at how old you are now. At your age, falling in love in the next 3 years is considered puppy love. Shen Tingxi was 3 years older than me. I was in the 3rd year of junior high school, and he was in the 3rd year of senior high school. He had lived in our house since he was 10. At first, I really liked to play with him. Having a good-looking brother at home was a great thing for a girl to show off, but as I grew up, I increasingly felt that Shen Tingxi was a block of wood. He was calm, sober, as cold as the autumn lake. As a teenager in his teens, he was already calm, introverted, and didn't show his emotions. My dad even praised him, saying that he would surely achieve great things in the future. But the always calm Shen Tingxi, in my past life, after I was imprisoned, his eyes were red countless times. 4. Maybe I was too much of a fool before and always followed Fong Li's will. This time, such a sucker, suddenly didn't go to her birthday. The gifts she showed off didn't look as high-end as before, so not long after she posted on Moments, she made a video call to me. I didn't answer. I looked at the time. At this point, they should have moved from the restaurant where they ate to the second venue, a KTV. In my past life, I paid for the KTV. It was already very late when we came out of the KTV. Other friends got in their cars and left one after another, and Fong Li, who was waiting for a car by the roadside, was suddenly hugged by a drunk. His hands were all over her in a vulgar way. After Lin Yanhua and I drove the car out, we saw that Fong Li's clothes were already in a mess. This place was relatively remote, and the security guards couldn't see. There were several accomplices around the drunk, making lewd laughter. Seeing my friend being bullied, I got out of the car and ran over directly. After pulling Fong Li over, the drunk still wanted to attack me. I had learned Taekwondo, so I threw him to the ground with a judo throw. When the other drunks saw this, they all surrounded me to help. It was a bit difficult for me to deal with 3 or 4 drunks, but Lin Yanhua, as if he didn't see anything, hid in the car and refused to get out for a long time. So during the entanglement, in a hurry to get away, I didn't control my strength well and kicked one of them to the ground. His backside of head hit the ground and he fainted. A passer-by called the police, and all of us were taken to the police station. Finally, we learned that the drunk had died because of a serious brain injury. My family hired the best lawyer for me, but there was no surveillance in that place. Except for ourselves and those drunks, there were no other witnesses. Originally, I was just acting in self-defense, but in court, Fong Li, the good friend I had always treated sincerely, said in court. At that time, the drunk had stopped pestering me. Jiang Yuanqing misread and thought I was being bullied. Even though my family spent a lot of money, I was still sentenced to 3 years in prison. My parents' hair turned white overnight. Shen Tingxi, who was always calm and self-possessed, looked at me with red eyes. Yuan, don't be afraid, brother will be with you. 5. Later, I was locked up in prison. Fong Li came to see me. She was crying pitifully, looking so miserable, as if she was the one who had suffered a great grievance. I'm sorry, Yuan, I was so scared. She showed the same pitiful face as she had countless times after making mistakes before. You'll forgive me, right? Forgive. I tear her to pieces. I spent 3 years in prison, and it took me a full 3 years to not hate her so much. But when I got out of prison, the news I got was that my good best friend Fong Li had already married my boyfriend Lin Yanhua and even had a child over 2 years old. Hate, yes. Resent, yes. So, being reborn, I want to stand by as a bystander and watch them be torn apart by fate. I returned home and quietly waited for that moment to come. At 1 30 in the morning, I received a call from Lin Yanhua. I guessed what was going on. So I answered the phone. On the other end, Lin Yanhua was panting, and the background was a bit noisy. His tone was a bit urgent. Yuan Qing, come to the police station. Something happened to Fong Li. The good show was about to begin. When I arrived, the police station was in chaos, crying, shouting, the police is scolding, and the siren outside were all mixed together. At other times, I would find this kind of background noise very annoying, but at this moment, I felt like it was the sound of nature. Under this background noise, it meant that I was completely reborn. I had completely escaped the tragedy of my past life and started my new life. I stepped on my small leather shoes, carried my small bag, walked past those people, and came to Lin Yanhua. He looked like a mess. There was a bruise on the corner of his mouth, and his clothes were torn. He was lowering his head when he heard my footsteps and looked up. The first thing he said was, "Why didn't you go to Fong Li's birthday party today?" I paused. Why didn't I notice before that Lin Yanhua was so good at blaming others? I tilted my head and looked at him. Would it be any different if I went? In my past life, when I saw Fong Li being molested, my first reaction was to rush down to help her. And as my boyfriend, the one who cheated with Fong Li, Lin Yanhua had been hiding in the car and not getting out. Later, his explanation was that he was calling the police in the car, but in fact, the person who really called the police was a passer-by. Perhaps irritated by my words, he suddenly stood up, and the look in his eyes when he looked at me was extremely fierce. "Aren't you a Taekwondo black belt? When you went out with Fong Li before, didn't you also drive away the hooligans? If you had gone this time, if I had gone this time, the one being harassed, molested, and violated would be me, then you wouldn't be sad, right?" Lin Yanhua was stunned, and his arrogant aura just now subsided a lot. He looked at me in disbelief. You know, right? I smiled sweetly. What do you think? I didn't want to pay attention to Lin Yanhua anymore. I turned around and followed the policewoman to find Fong Li. She looked much worse than Lin Yanhua. Her clothes had been completely torn. The policewoman had found other clothes to cover her. She was sitting on the bed, curled up. Her exquisitely permed hair, which had cost a lot of money, was now in a mess. Her eyes were red. Because of her fair skin, any trace left on her body would be very obvious. She lowered her head and shed tears, looking extremely pitiful. The policewoman explained to me that after Fong Li and the others came out of the KTV, they met the drunks. The drunks molested Fong Li. Lin Yanhua called the police and the security guards after Fong Li was dragged into the alley, and then went to help. Lin Yanhua directly took a brick and hit the man on the head. Now that drunk was still in the ICU of the hospital, and his life was hanging by a thread. After the policewoman finished speaking, Fong Li looked up at me, and her tone was also very weak. "Yuan Qing," but I didn't step forward to hug her as before. Instead, I stood where I was. She looked at me, a little confused. The policewoman noticed the strange atmosphere and thought we had something to say, so she quietly backed out. "Why are you standing so far away?" Fong Li asked me. My expression was indifferent. "I just came to take a look. I can't help much. After making sure you're okay, I'm going home. It's already very late." I put it as euphemistically as possible. "I just came to watch the joke." Fong Li's face changed. She was in disbelief and a little bit blameful. "Yuan Qing, what do you mean? Aren't we friends? I'm already like this. Why are you so cold-hearted? I never thought you would be such a person. I never thought you would be such a person either." I interrupted her and said directly, "I treated you as a friend. What about you? Have you ever treated me as a real friend?" Fong Li was stunned. "You? What do you mean?" "Literally, I didn't want to entangle with them too much," I said. "I just came to watch their jokes. In my past life, this night was my nightmare. After accidentally pushing that person down, my parents rushed over. My mother, who had been elegant for most of her life, collapsed on the ground and cried bitterly when she heard that I might be imprisoned. Both my parents' hair turned white overnight. I was controlled by the police, and my parents were crying bitterly outside. But Fong Li, whom I had helped, had been standing in the corner and didn't even give my parents a word of comfort. Lin Yanhua had been standing beside Fong Li. After symbolically comforting my parents a few words, he left with Fong Li. Now that I think about it, they probably didn't go back to school that night but went to a hotel, and I became the biggest victim. And on this night after being reborn, I looked at the group chat with Shen Tingxi, my parents, and me on my phone. Before going to bed, my parents posted photos of them having dinner at a restaurant, with happiness all over their faces. In this life, I will firmly hold on to my happiness. When I turned around and walked out of the police station, Fong Li and Lin Yanhua's parents had just arrived. I passed by them. They all looked back at me. Maybe they wanted to say something to me, but they were urged by the police and followed the police in. I stood outside the police station and looked back at the busy police station. The harm I suffered in my past life, in this life, I will make them pay back 1,000 times. The news that Feng Li was dragged into the alley by the drunk spread throughout the whole school that night. The next day when I went to class, I heard several girls next to me talking about something. I was curious and turned my head. What are you looking at? Those girls looked at each other and didn't dare to speak. I thought for a while, is it about Feng Li? Those girls' faces changed, and they nodded. One of the girls who had a good relationship with me took her phone and sat next to me. Yuan Qing, I know you have a good relationship with Feng Li. You may be angry when you see this video, so we didn't dare to show it to you. What video? The girl held up her phone for me to see. The video was secretly taken from upstairs. It was the KTV from last night. Feng Li was dragged into the alley by those drunks, and her white princess dress was torn and thrown out. The video was a bit blurry, and it was not clear what exactly happened. But the girls' screams and the drunks' jeering laughter in the video were enough to show what had happened. After watching it, I frowned slightly. 9. Although I did want to take revenge on Feng Li and Lin Yanhua, I really hated the person who posted the video of a girl being violated. Seeing my expression turned sour, the girl immediately paused the video. We don't know who posted it either. It was spread everywhere last night. Yesterday was Feng Li's birthday. You should have been there, right? Everyone knew that I had a close relationship with Feng Li. Feng Li was the art department's department flower, popular all over the school with her perfect appearance. Many rich second-generation students were pursuing her, and she changed boyfriends quite frequently. Moreover, due to her arrogant personality, she had already offended many people. Now that this video came out, those who had disliked her on weekdays all started to pile on the blame. I lowered my eyes and said, I wasn't there. I don't really know what happened. Although I was disgusted by the person who spread the video of a girl being violated, I always remembered what had happened to me because of Feng Li in my past life. I would never forgive her. After thinking for a while, I said to those girls, in the future, you don't have to consider me when it comes to Feng Li's matters. I have nothing to do with her now. The sudden break-up of former good friends was a story worth them gossiping about for a long time. On that day, neither Lin Yanhua nor Feng Li came to school. After sending Lin Yanhua a break-up text message, I immediately blocked both of their WeChat accounts. Based on my understanding of them, I knew they would come to pester me later. After all, I had been so naive all these years and had given them so many benefits. After finishing the afternoon classes, I went home. In my past life, I was in prison for 3 years. My parents cried every day, and our family business plummeted. Everything was supported by Shintingxi. Even before coming back, I had sent them a message saying that I would come back for dinner tonight, but when I arrived at the door, I was still nervous. After giving myself enough mental preparation, I pressed the doorbell. Our house was a large riverside flat. As soon as the door opened, the nanny aunt was busy arranging the dishes. My father was sitting in the living room watching the news. My mother opened the door and saw me, her eyes curving into a smile. Our Yuan is back. I thought I had done enough mental preparation and wouldn't show my emotions. But when I saw such a warm scene and my gentle-eyed mother standing in front of me, I still couldn't hold back, and big teardrops fell. As soon as my mother saw me crying, she immediately panicked. Oh, what's wrong? Did you get bullied at school? In their eyes, I had just been at school for 2 days and then came back, but in my eyes, it was the first time in a full 3 years that I felt the warmth of home again. At the dinner table, my parents kept putting food in my bowl. While chatting, my parents suddenly talked about Shintingxi. By the way, your brother is coming back soon. My hand holding the chopsticks paused. After college, Shintingxi chose to study abroad and started a company with his foreign classmates. According to my father, it was doing quite well. In my past life, he was probably coming back around this time, but because of my incident, he rushed back regardless of everything and only managed to catch up with my sentencing in court. This time, since I didn't have an accident, according to the plan, he was probably going to come back within half a month. In fact, in my past life, the relationship between me and Shintingxi was a bit delicate. I was pursued by Lin Yanhua when I was a sophomore and got together with him. Once, we were spotted by Shintingxi while shopping on the street. He pulled me aside with a straight face and said that I was not allowed to fall in love. I just thought he was trying to persuade me in an elder-like way, and I was a bit unhappy. Before you said that falling in love before the age of 18 was puppy love, but now I'm almost 20. Why are you meddling in my affairs? I'm your brother. You're not my real brother. Because of this quarrel, I started to avoid him. He was 3 years older than me and had already received an admission notice from a foreign university at that time. He was so busy every day that he went out early and came back late. Even if we happened to meet by chance, I would angrily avoid him, until he really went abroad. I was still angry with him because he didn't allow me to be with Lin Yanhua, who knew that the next time we met, I was about to go to prison. Thinking of how he had run around for me in my past life, the always clean and hygienic him became unshaven, and his beautiful peach blossom eyes were full of bloodshot. He was not my real brother, but he was better than a real brother. So after dinner, when I returned to my room, I took out my phone. The chat record between me and him stopped more than 2 years ago. When he went abroad, I took out my phone, thinking about what kind of conciliatory message to send him to apologize. As a result, I accidentally touched the voice call button. My hand shook, and the phone fell to the ground. I hurriedly picked it up and found that the other side had already answered the call. A clear and cold male voice came through. Hello. I froze, not daring to speak. Shen Tingxi called again. Jiang Yuanqing. Hearing the familiar voice, my nose twitched. When I spoke again, my voice had changed. I'm here. He seemed to have heard the sobbing in my voice, and his tone was no longer as cold as before, like the calm lake finally rippling. What's wrong? What happened? I sniffed and looked at the photo of me and him on the desk when we were young. I was looking at the camera, and the little boy was looking at me. So, I spoke, across the entire Pacific Ocean and several time zones, conveying the most sincere words in my heart. Shen Tingxi, I miss you. After I said that, I was so ashamed that I threw the phone aside. Shen Tingxi's parents and my parents were family friends. When my parents' business failed, all the relatives and friends around closed their doors and refused to lend a hand. It was Shen Tingxi's parents who helped my parents. When Shen Tingxi was 10 years old, his parents' business had problems, and they died in a car accident. It was my parents who rushed to the Shen family's villa and brought Shen Tingxi back from those debt collectors. When he first came to our house, Shen Tingxi always refused to talk and eat. My parents couldn't do anything about him. It was I who kept pestering and coaxing him that he was willing to speak. However, the first sentence he said to me was, "Can you be quiet?" When I was a child, I called him brother. When I grew up and knew that he didn't have the same parents as me, I would call him brother when I was happy and call him by his full name when I was unhappy. During puberty, when everyone was attracted to the male classmates in school, I shamefully blushed for Shen Tingxi, but after realizing it, I simply gave myself a slap. Jiang Yuanqing, have you no shame? He lives in your house because he has no choice. How could you have such improper thoughts about him? Later, after learning biology, I also understood that it was normal to have an interest in the opposite sex during puberty. I slowly let go of it and would also suddenly praise him after staring at him. Brother, you're so good looking. In short, if it weren't for Lin Yanhua, the relationship between me and Shen Tingxi would always have been good. For several days in a row, Feng Li and Lin Yanhua didn't come to school, but their affairs had spread far and wide. Feng Li had always been ostentatious in her actions. Now that she had encountered these things, those who had been bullied by her before began to gloat. When I walked into the classroom, everyone was whispering. When I entered, everyone exchanged glances and then gradually quieted down. After I sat down, a boy who usually had a good relationship with me in the front row turned around and looked at me. Yuan Qing, I heard that you and Feng Li had a falling out. I gave a hum. He asked again. Because of what? I couldn't explain to them how badly I had been hurt by Feng Li in my past life. I was still hesitating when the girl next to me said, what else could it be? Because she saw Feng Li's true colors. With this sentence, it was like opening everyone's chatterbox. Everyone spoke one after another, sharing what they had seen and heard about Feng Li. I live in the same dormitory as Yuan Qing, so I had the most say. Every time she had a date, she would come to take Yuan Qing's clothes and bags. But I never saw her return them. Either the ones she returned smelled of hot pot or had stains. It's not just clothes and bags, there are also skin care products. Yuan Qing is so kind. Every time she buys skin care products, she buys 2 sets. She takes them for granted, but I never saw her buy anything for Yuan Qing. Feng Li, I thought she was very scheming from the first time I saw her. On the surface, she smiles and is gentle to everyone. But who knows what she's really like behind the scenes. There's another thing. I don't know if you've noticed, Feng Li always likes to snatch things from others. Everyone spoke one after another, bringing up all the little things that had made me feel a bit uncomfortable about Feng Li over the years. People are like this. The little details that were not noticed before would all be triggered at a certain point, since we met in junior high school. I had always regarded Feng Li as a weak person who needed help and took good care of her. Her family was of ordinary means, but she was a bit vain, so, whenever I bought skin care products for myself, I would also buy a set for her. When we went shopping, I always paid the bill. I had gotten used to it over the years, but at this moment, when everyone said it out, I realized the inequality in this relationship. In this friendship between me and Feng Li, I had always been giving, while Feng Li had always been taking. A small favor creates indebtedness, a great favor breeds resentment. Feng Li, at some point, had developed hatred towards me and started trying to snatch my things. At first, after she said she wanted to pursue Shintingxi but failed, she changed her words and said she also hoped to have such a brother, so on weekends, I would bring her home to play. Shintingxi was reading in the study, and she would go to disturb him many times. She would call Shintingxi brother all the time. At that time, Shintingxi had just finished the college entrance examination and was previewing the content of his college major at home. When he heard Feng Li call him like that, he looked up coldly. I remember I only have one sister. Then, regardless of Feng Li, who was standing there awkwardly, he directly carried his school bag and went out. At that time, I still accused Shintingxi of being impolite and cold. Now that I think about it, Shintingxi could tell a scheming girl from a young age. 5 days after the incident, I ran into Lin Yanhua at the dormitory entrance. He was wearing a baseball cap and a mask. It seemed that he knew he was in the spotlight recently. At first, I didn't notice. It was not until I walked in front of him that he suddenly grabbed my arm, and I was startled. He made a shoe gesture. "It's me." I twitched the corner of my mouth. "It's because it's you that I screamed." Someone passed by and glanced at us. Lin Yanhua quickly lowered his head, afraid of being recognized. "Can we find a place with fewer people?" After the lessons of my past life, I was now afraid that he would take me to a deserted place and hit me on the head. I chuckled twice and took his hand away. No need. Before blocking him, I was afraid he wouldn't understand what I meant, so I had sent him a message saying that I wanted to break up with him. I thought he could guess what was going on, and I was too lazy to be so explicit, but I never expected that he would still have the nerve to come to me. Seeing that I was about to leave, he grabbed me again. "Yuan Qing, you can't just say break up and that's it. I know it was wrong of me and Feng Li to do that, but you can't completely blame me. At that time, you and I were arguing, and Feng Li was always chatting with me, so I ended up like that. Now that I'm in trouble, you can't just ignore me." Sure enough, after a man cheats, his first reaction is not to think that he is wrong but to find reasons from others. I was so angry that I laughed instead. I turned around and looked at him with disgust. "Lin Yanhua, why didn't I notice before that you were so shameless?" I struggled to get away, but I didn't expect Lin Yanhua to throw caution to the wind and directly pull me out. Many people around were looking, but no one came forward to help. Just as I was about to use my taekwondo skills, a tall and slender figure walked over from the side. He held my hand and then clamped Lin Yanhua's wrist. With a light squeeze, Lin Yanhua let go of my wrist in pain. He protected me behind him. When I looked up, I saw his profile. It was Shintingxi. He stared fixedly at Lin Yanhua. "I warned you more than 2 years ago not to get close to her, right?" Shintingxi's aura was so strong that, coupled with the pointing and whispering of the people around, Lin Yanhua could only run away like a coward. Shintingxi turned around and met my upward-looking gaze. These days, the weather had turned cooler. He was wearing a long black windbreaker and looked extremely handsome. I was still immersed in his handsomeness when, the next second, he tapped my forehead with his knuckles. "Is falling in love fun?" I covered my forehead and glared at him. This Shintingxi was really vindictive. Shintingxi said he would take me home for dinner. I followed him into the car and found that the driver was his high school classmate. They often took me with them when they had gatherings before. As soon as his classmate saw me, he winked and said, "Oh, Yuan Qing, you become so beautiful now. No wonder someone, just getting off the plane without going home, rushed to pick you up. If I had such a beautiful sister, I would also fly here to pick you up." Before he finished speaking, he was hit by a pillow thrown by Shintingxi. After going through the events of my past life, I was extremely happy to meet him this time. Both of us were sitting in the back seat. I turned around and looked at him. "Didn't Mom and Dad say you wouldn't be back for a few more days? Why are you back today?" Before Shintingxi could speak, the classmate driving the car was shaking with suppressed laughter. Shintingxi adjusted his sitting position a bit uncomfortably and said, "Didn't you say to let me come back early?" When did I ask him to come back early? That day, I clearly said that I missed him. I suddenly paused. After not seeing each other for more than 2 years, the Shintingxi in front of me was the Shintingxi I knew, but he also had a different feeling. outside the car window was the busy traffic, and inside the car was his side face looking ahead, in the quiet and enclosed space. My heart suddenly started beating faster. I silently turned back and pretended to play with my phone, but on my phone, I searched, "After puberty, will you still have a strong and unprovoked interest in the opposite sex?" The family was reunited. I looked at this scene and my eyes turned slightly red, but I didn't want Shintingsi to see it and misunderstand. After dinner, when I returned to my room, he knocked on my door. After getting my consent, he walked in. After looking me up and down for a while, he said, "Are you still sad because of breaking up with that jerk?" I was sitting on the bay window, and Shintingsi was sitting at my desk. Our eyes met, and my heart started beating fast again for some reason, so I averted my eyes. "No," but Shintingsi stared at me intently. "You don't dare to look at me. Are you guilty?" Shintingsi seemed a bit angry. "What's so good about him? If you break up, you break up. Don't fall in love in the future either. Men are all no good," I muttered. "You're a man too." Shintingsi paused. "I'm different." Lin Yanhua found me again through a mutual friend later. I directly posted a moments. "I have broken up with Lin Yanhua. If anyone comes to be a peacemaker, don't blame me for blocking you as a friend too." After this moments, the world became quiet. Regarding Feng Li's incident, Feng Li was the victim, but public opinion was terrifying. Everyone was spreading the rumor that Feng Li had been raped by those drunks. Just when the rumors were in full swing, a person who had asked for sick leave to see a doctor posted a moments, saying that they saw Feng Li having an examination in the obstetrics department at the hospital. The photo released was indeed of Feng Li standing outside the obstetrics consultation room alone. This moments was like solidifying the rumor that she had been raped. The once high and mighty department flower goddess had now become a rat that everyone hated. As for Lin Yanhua, the drunk he had hit with a brick was said to have become a vegetable. Lin Yanhua's parents found a lawyer for him, saying it was self-defense, but at this critical moment, someone released another video. It was Lin Yanhua hitting that drunk with a brick, after the drunk fell unconscious, and then he took the brick and hit him several more times. Once the video came out, it was no longer self-defense. Eventually, Lin Yanhua was sentenced to pay a large sum of compensation to the drunk and also had to serve 3 years in prison. The hardships I endured in my past life had all become his retribution. 18. A full month after this incident, Feng Li returned to school. Ours was a key university, and the graduation certificate held high value. Graduation was approaching, and I guessed that Feng Li couldn't afford to drop out. But when she returned to school, what greeted her were all kinds of rumors. One day when I was having lunch in the cafeteria, I saw her sitting alone. People around were whispering, and she seemed itched to bury her face in the plate. The same situation had happened in high school. Some people said that Feng Li was dating a small-time hooligan from another school, and everyone isolated her. During the free group selection period in PE class, no one chose her. At that time, I shattered the rumors and firmly took her hand, but at this moment, I just wanted to watch her get her comeuppance from a distance. Perhaps feeling that some people were going too far, Feng Li suddenly lost control. She stood up and threw the dinner plate on the ground, then cried out, "I wasn't raped by those drunks, they didn't touch me." A boy heckled, "Then what were you doing in the obstetrics department, going there to have a hemorrhoid removed?" Everyone burst into laughter. Feng Li screamed, "The child is Lin Yanhua's, not that drunk's. I wasn't raped." As soon as these words came out, after a moment of silence, there were successive exclamations of shock. Then, those who knew about my relationship with Lin Yanhua all silently cast pitying glances at me. The corners of my mouth twitched. Having an ex-boyfriend was making me feel like I had a stain. Even the girl sitting across from me silently put the drumstick in her bowl into mine. "Eat more, you've been through a lot." 19. Later, Feng Li came to see me once, asking to borrow money for an abortion. She still had that pitiful look, with red eyes, showing up at the entrance of my community. Seeing me carrying fruits from afar, she ran over to help me carry them. I turned around and dodged. "Just say what you have to say." She didn't beat around the bush. Yuan. "I know that what I did with Lin Yanhua was really sorry to you, but can you forgive me this time? I'll never snatch your things again. My parents found out that I'm pregnant and think it's shameful. They won't let me go home and won't give me money for the operation. Now I can only turn to you." The more I listened, the more something seemed off. "So you mean that my friend got pregnant with my boyfriend's child, and I'm supposed to pay for the abortion?" She froze, but the next second, her eyes turned red again. Yuan, I'm really sorry. I'm begging you. Just help me this one time." "No, thanks. And there's one more thing." I took out a piece of paper from my pocket and handed it to her. These are the things you took from me over the years. I hope you can return them intact. If you can't, then I'll have to sue you. On it were items ranging from a few thousand yuan coat to a tens of thousands yuan bag that Shen Tingxi had bought for me. She said she would borrow them for a while but never returned them, added up little by little. It was also more than 100,000 yuan. Fang Li's family was poor. Her parents were both street vendors. Lin Yanhua's family was well off. Before, she had probably made Lin Yanhua spend a lot of money on her by using her body, but now that Lin Yanhua was in prison, there was no one to clean up her mess. Fang Li took the paper and looked at it, then looked at me in disbelief. Jiang Yuanqing. Do you really have to be so ruthless? I didn't know how to tell her that I was reborn, but I wanted to tell her in another way. I looked at her and smiled. You know what? I had a dream. In the dream, I went to your birthday party. I was the one who entered the drunk, and then you refused to testify for me in court. I went to prison for 3 years, and you got married to Lin Yanhua and even gave birth to this child. Hearing this, Fang Li's face changed, but she forced herself to remain calm. How is that possible? How could I possibly refuse to testify for you? After knowing each other for so many years, I knew her well. During these days, she and Lin Yanhua must have also thought about what would happen if I had gone to her birthday party and if I was the one who had injured the drunk. Since she didn't admit it, I didn't want to entangle further. I picked up my things and turned around. You have a week to return them. Otherwise, I'll start the lawsuit. After saying that, I ignored her pitiful pleas and turned to enter the community. Who would have thought that just a few steps away, the fruit bag in my hand was taken away? Thinking it was Fang Li, I turned around and made a taekwondo move, but the other person bent down and directly carried me on his shoulder. Only then did I recognize that it was Shen Tingxi. He was carrying me on one shoulder and holding the fruits in the other hand, looking in a very good mood. Why are you suddenly so sensible? Weren't you saying you wanted to be best friends with her for a lifetime before? Presumably, Shen Tingxi had heard everything just now, so I simply confessed. It's because of that dream. What else did you dream about? I dreamed that Mom and Dad cried so sadly because I went to prison. And, I also dreamed about you. I dreamed that you cried so sadly too. Shen Tingxi's steps paused. He put me down. Under the dim and ambiguous street lamplight, our eyes met. So, you said you missed me that day because of this dream. Yes, not for any other reason. Perhaps the night breeze was too ambiguous, or perhaps his eyes were too gentle. I actually sensed something else. He had returned early because of my "I miss you." After getting off the plane, he didn't even go home but went straight to my school with his luggage, his classmates snickering, my eye dodging when I looked at him after puberty. Perhaps because of experiencing the life and death separation in my past life, my courage suddenly grew at this moment. Shen Tingxi, do you think Mom and Dad will break my legs if I say I want to chase you? Jiang Yuanqing. He suddenly became very serious. Who told you to say such things? I was frightened by his seriousness and looked at him cautiously. Why are you suddenly so serious? I just suddenly realized that I've liked you a bit all these years. But I always thought you were my brother, so I didn't have such thoughts. If you think it's impossible, then I just won't like you. Why are you so fierce? But he said, you can't just like me a little, you have to like me very much. Now we get along like family, but if we get together and then break up because you don't like me anymore, we will not only lose a lover but also our best family. So, you have to like me very much. Like him very much. Seeing me hesitate, he reached out and poked my forehead. I'll give you time to think it over. If you're sure, I'll talk to Mom and Dad. 20. At night, while my parents were asleep, I secretly slipped into Shen Tingxi's room. He was still sitting in front of the computer working. I directly sat on his bed. I want to ask you some things. Shen Tingxi was facing the computer, typing away. What things? When you were in your senior year of high school. What happened to that senior who gave me a love letter to give to you? Later, what happened between you two? I still remembered that at that time, I had some improper thoughts about Shen Tingxi, but everyone regarded me as his real sister, and many seniors even gave me gifts to ask me to pass on their love letters. The one I remembered most was the high school beauty. As an art student, she had long curly hair and was as beautiful as a princess. Standing next to her, Fang Li looked like a servant. I remembered it clearly, but Shen Tingxi looked at me blankly. Who? That school beauty, with long curly hair, as beautiful as a mixed-race girl. Don't remember. Me. I felt a bit secretly happy, but I still waved my fist at him. If I find out you're lying to me, you're in big trouble. After a while, I asked again, then when did you start liking me? I gradually liked you, he said. By the time I realized it, I already liked you very much. I was quite satisfied with Shen Tingxi's answer. I was still lingering in his room when Shintingsi suddenly said, I advise you to go back quickly. Before, when I regarded you as my sister, it didn't matter how you slept on my bed, but now that you said you like me, there are differences between men and women. I pouted, and at the door, I made a face at him. Hypocrite. 21. When the specified time came, Fong Li failed to return the things to me as promised. I had expected this. She was so vain that the valuable things she took from me were probably all resold by her. She came to plead with me pitifully, but I always stuck to my principles. I spent some money to find a lawyer and directly sued her. Another half-month passed, and Fong Li actually paid back the money. I was wondering about this when I heard my classmates gossiping. It was said that Fong Li had found a rich boyfriend. It was heard that he was quite old, with a beer belly and a receding hairline, and he even had a wife, but he didn't mind that Fong Li had someone else's child in her belly and even paid for her abortion, so Fong Li became a mistress. In our senior year, everyone was gradually going for internships, and I also moved out of the dormitory. The company that Shintingsi founded with his friends was getting bigger and bigger. He directly rented a villa outside and rarely went home, but when I moved out of the dormitory, he still came to pick me up by car, sitting in the passenger seat of his car. In late autumn, the ginkgo leaves on the road were spread out in a golden carpet. I turned around and held Shintingsi's hand. Shintingsi, I've decided, I like you very much and want to be with you for a long time. He was startled at first. And then he smiled at me. Okay, as for the hurdle of our parents, I believed that Shintingsi could solve it for me. In my past life, I was in a hurry and didn't notice that there was an extremely good person by my side who had always loved me. In this life, I will never let go of his hand again.